At the party, she introduced me as just someone she knows. The laughter stung. Then I spoke up. I told everyone I was selling the house. A realtor, paperwork, and an online listing. The yard went completely silent. And that was just the beginning. You know that moment when you realize your marriage is not only broken? It has been a joke for months, and you were the only one not laughing. Mine happened at a backyard neighborhood cookout with 30 neighbors watching. My wife introduced me as someone she knows, not her husband, not her partner. Someone she knows, as if I were the guy who delivers her Amazon packages. I stood there holding a plate of burgers watching her laugh with a group of neighbors and their friends. She made a casual gesture toward me and said her exact words. The group looked confused. One of them even asked if we were related. She just smiled and changed the subject. I stood there for about 5 seconds processing what had just happened. A part of me wanted to believe it was a mistake, a weird moment of brain fog. But I knew it was not the case. It was not an accident. It was intentional. For months, she had been acting like I was optional, coming home late with no explanation, going out every weekend with friends I had never met, questioning every decision I made as if I were an incompetent roommate rather than her husband. Intimacy disappeared. Conversations became transactional. She treated our marriage like a temporary living arrangement she tolerated until something better came along. And now, in front of half the neighborhood, she reduced me to someone she knows. I could have stayed silent, swallowed the humiliation, and dealt with it in private later. That is probably what she expected. But I had had enough of being the guy who accepts disrespect. Silently, I approached, still holding that plate, and I smiled. Not a fake smile, not an angry smile, just calm and composed. Actually, I said loud enough for the group to hear, I am the husband, and I am selling the house. The yard became completely silent. You could hear someone's Spotify playlist continuing in the background, but no one spoke anymore. Everyone stared at us. She laughed, nervous, forced, trying to pass it off as a joke. What are you talking about? I am selling the house, I repeated, looking directly at her. I already spoke to a real estate agent. It should be listed by next week. Her face became pale. One of the neighbors, an older guy who lives a few doors down, looked between us as if he were witnessing a slow-motion car crash. You cannot just sell the house, she said, her voice strained. Actually, yes I can. It is in both our names, but we both know how that works. I already consulted a family law attorney about how we would divide the marital assets. You will get your share. Do not worry. She was going to try to laugh again, looking around the group for support, but no one believed it anymore. They all knew exactly what had just happened. She had publicly disrespected me, and I had called her bluff immediately. This is ridiculous, she said, trying to compose herself. You are being dramatic. Dramatic? Dramatic would have been making a scene when you introduced me as someone you know. This is just me being clear about where we stand. I put the plate down on the nearest table and walked back toward the house. I did not storm off. I did not slam anything. I just left with my head high, leaving her there trying to explain to a group of confused neighbors why her husband had just announced he was selling their house. I spent the rest of the evening in the garage sorting boxes of old papers and taking out everything concerning the house. Mortgage documents, property tax statements, home improvement receipts. I was not bluffing about any of that. She entered the garage around 10 p.m. after everyone had left. What the heck was that? She said with crossed arms. That was me being honest. You humiliated me. I looked up from the box I was sorting. I humiliated you? You are the one who introduced me as someone you know to our neighbors. People I have lived next to for 3 years. It was a mistake. No, it was not one. You have been treating me like I am temporary for months now. Tonight, you just said it out loud. She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. She knew I was right. And so, you are just going to blow up our entire life for a single comment? A single comment. I stood up and dusted the dirt off my hands. You checked out of this marriage since the winter. Late nights out, without explanation. Treating me like I am in your way. Do you think I did not notice? She did not answer. She just stayed there looking at me as if she were trying to determine if I was serious. I am selling the house, I said again more calmly this time. You can fight me, or we can handle this like adults. In any case, I am done pretending this marriage is something it is not. She left the garage without another word. I heard the bedroom door close upstairs. I went back to sorting the documents. At midnight, I had organized everything. I had already sent an email to the real estate agent earlier in the week just to get an idea of the house value. It turned out that real estate values in our neighborhood had increased significantly. We would make a good profit, even after paying off the mortgage. The next morning, I woke up and found her sitting at the kitchen table, staring at her coffee. "We need to talk," she said. "Go ahead. I do not want to sell the house." Noted. "I am selling it anyway. You cannot make decisions like that without me." I poured my coffee and leaned against the counter. "You are right. Marriage is supposed to be a partnership, but you stopped treating it like one a long time ago. So now, I make decisions that protect me." She looked at her cup. For a second, I thought she might admit something, apologize maybe, but she did not. "I think you are overreacting," she said instead. I finished my coffee, rinsed the cup, and took my keys. "Where are you going?" she asked. "To work. And then, I am meeting the real estate agent at noon. Like I said, the house will be put up for sale next week." I left before she could answer. I drove to work with the windows open, feeling lighter than I had in months. I was not angry. I was not sad. I was just done. And for the first time in a long time, I was the one in control. The real estate agent confirmed what I already suspected. The house would sell fast. The location was ideal, the condition was good, and the market was hot. She suggested listing it $14,000 above what I initially thought, saying we would probably have multiple offers in the first week. I signed the papers that afternoon. Contract, disclosure form, everything. The agent said she would send a photographer by Thursday for professional photos. The house will be online Friday. When I came home that evening, my wife was waiting for me in the living room. She had clearly rehearsed the speech she was going to make. "We need to have a real conversation," she began. "About what?" "About the fact that you take a massive decision without discussing it with me first." I put my keys on the counter. "We have been discussing it for months. You were not paying attention. That is not fair." "You are right. Fair would have been you treating me like your husband rather than like a guy who pays half the bills. But here we are." She stood up frustrated. "A comment at a neighborhood cookout does not mean our whole marriage was over. It is not a comment. It is months of you acting like I am disposable. The late nights with friends I have never met. The way you pull away when I touch you. How you turned our bedroom into a place where you sleep alone even when I am right there. I have been stressed." "Stressed about what?" "You have not worked for more than a year. I pay the mortgage, the utilities, the groceries. You spend your days doing whatever you want and your nights out with people you refuse to introduce to me. What exactly are you stressed about?" She crossed her arms defensively. "So now it is a question of money." "No, it is a question of respect. The money is just an example of how everything became unbalanced. I contribute in other ways." "Name one." She went silent, looked away, could not answer. "That is what I thought," I said. "You stopped contributing months ago emotionally, physically, practically, and last night. You clearly showed that you do not even see me as your husband anymore. So yes, I am selling the house because staying here pretending everything is fine is useless. You are cold. I am realistic." She tried a different approach, softer voice, almost pleading. "And if I said I want to fix this, that I made mistakes, but I want to try?" I looked directly at her. "Then I would say you are only interested in fixing it because you are about to lose something. Not because you value the relationship. That is not true. Then tell me the truth. Where were you Tuesday night 2 weeks ago, or last Friday, or the 3 Saturdays before that?" She hesitated. "Out with friends." "Which friends?" "Does it matter?" "Yes, it matters because if you ask me to believe you want to fix this marriage, the least you can do is be honest about where you spend your time." She did not answer, just staying there trying to navigate the conversation without admitting anything. "That is what I thought," I said again. "You want me to trust you, but you do not even tell me basic information about your life. That is not a marriage. It is me being your backup plan. You are twisting everything. I am stating facts. You have been distant, you have been secretive, and last night, you made it public. So now, I respond accordingly." She tried guilt next, and everything we built together. 3 years in this house, all the memories. Memories do not pay the mortgage, and they do not compensate for being treated as if I were optional. So that is it. You are just done? No therapy, no trying to fix it. I almost laughed. Therapy works when both people want to fix things. You do not want to fix anything. You just do not want to deal with the consequences of your choices. That is not fair. Life is not fair. but I am not staying to be disrespected in my own home. She sat back down staring at the floor. For a moment, I thought she might admit what was really going on. But she did not. She just stayed sitting there in silence. The house is listed Friday, I said. You can cooperate, and we will divide everything cleanly, or you can fight me and make this harder than necessary. Your choice. And if I refuse to sell, then we go to court. My lawyer already explained how this works. It is marital property, and I have grounds to force the sale if necessary. You will get your share of profit anyway. But if you fight me, it costs both of us more in fees, and it takes more time. It does not change the outcome. She looked up, realizing I was not bluffing about anything. When did you talk to a lawyer? 2 weeks ago, right around the time I realized this marriage was already over, and you just had not said it out loud. So you were planning this. I was protecting myself. There is a difference. She got up and walked toward the stairs. She stopped halfway and turned around. I did not think you would really do it. That is because you thought I would just keep taking whatever you gave me. I am done with that. She went upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and sat on the back deck. My phone vibrated. Message from the real estate agent. Photographer scheduled for Thursday at 10 a.m. She had already started drafting the listing description. I replied to confirm. Then, I called my lawyer and brought him up to speed on the conversation. He told me to document everything. Keep records of her refusal to disclose where she had been, her lack of financial contribution, everything. He said it would count if things got complicated during the division of assets. I spent the rest of that night examining bank statements and credit card bills. I marked every restaurant charge where I had never been, every Uber ride I knew nothing about, every unexplained expense. I built a timeline of the last 6 months. It was crystal clear. She had been living a separate life while I paid for everything. Thursday morning, she tried one last time. We can at least talk about it before the photographer arrives. There is nothing left to say. Please. I stopped tidying up the mess in the living room and looked at her. You want to talk? Okay. Tell me who you are seeing. I am not seeing anyone. Then tell me who you spend your time with. Names. Details. Prove me wrong. She could not, would not, just stood there looking trapped. That is what I thought, I said for the 3rd time. The photographer arrives in an hour. Make sure your things are out of sight. The house looked perfect when the photographer finished. Staged, clean, ready to sell. She stayed in the bedroom the whole time. Door closed. Friday afternoon. The listing was online. Professional photos, detailed description, price to sell. The agent called at 6 p.m. to say we already had 3 showings scheduled for the weekend and 2 incoming offers without viewing. My wife came downstairs that evening and saw me looking at the listing on my laptop. Is this really happening? She said softly. Yes, it is. She sat across from me, looking at the screen. Our house, the place where we lived for 3 years. Listed for sale with a price that will close this chapter completely. I made mistakes, she said. You did, but I did not think you would really leave. I closed the computer and looked at her. That is the problem. You thought I would stay no matter what, but I will not. I am worth more than being someone you know. Saturday morning, my phone rang, unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. It was Kyle from 3 houses down. We met at the neighborhood cookout last week. I remembered him, a quiet guy who kept to himself mostly, worked from home, did something in software consulting, always nodded to say hello when we passed by, but we had never really talked more than that. Yes, I remember. What is it? I saw your house was listed for sale yesterday. The listing is accurate. Are you really selling? Yes, I am selling. Do you mind if I come by? I would like to talk to you about something. 20 minutes later, he was in my living room. My wife had conveniently left for the morning, probably to avoid the reality of what was happening. Kyle did not waste time. I want to buy your house. I will pay the asking price plus $10,000. Cash offer. No inspection contingencies. We can close in 3 weeks. I stared at him. Is this a serious offer? I am serious. I have been watching this street for 2 years. Your lot is the best positioned. Corner property, bigger backyard, better sun exposure. I was waiting for something to open up. Why not go through the normal process? Make an offer through my agent. Because I want to close fast, and I do not want to deal with other competing buyers. This way we both win. You get above the asking price, I get the house I want, and we avoid the headaches of showings and negotiations. I sat down to process this. You understand this is going through a divorce, right? It is not just me selling. My wife owns half. I guess from what I saw last week. I suppose that is why you were selling in the first place. And that does not worry you? He shook his head. Your personal situation is your business. I am just interested in the property, but I will be honest with you. What happened at the neighborhood cookout impressed me. Impressed? Most guys would have stood there and taken that disrespect silently. Would have handled it privately later, probably let it slide completely. You did not. You called it out on the spot. That takes courage. I did not know what to say to that. I did not expect the conversation to take this direction. Listen, continued Kyle. I went through a divorce. I know how it goes. Someone stops respecting you, stops seeing you as a partner, and you have two choices. You can stay and let yourself fade away, or you can leave with your dignity intact. You chose the second option. I respect that. So you want to buy my house because I defended myself at a neighborhood cookout? I want to buy the house because it is a good property and I can afford it. But yes, the way you handled that definitely made me want to help you speed up this process. He handed me a printed document, a proof of funds letter from his bank. He was not lying about his ability to pay in cash. The guy had serious money and liquid assets. I will need to run this by my lawyer, I said. And obviously my wife must agree since she owns half. Fair enough, but my offer stands for 48 hours. After that I will look at other properties in the neighborhood. We shook hands and he left. I immediately called my lawyer. That is an excellent offer, he said after I explained the situation. It significantly reduces your time in limbo, but you need your wife's agreement to accept it. And if she refuses, then we proceed with the regular sale process. But this offer gives you leverage. She can either accept a fast and profitable sale or drag things out and potentially get less money after months of showings and negotiations. I thanked him and hung up. I sent a message to my wife to come home, that we needed to talk. She walked in an hour later, looking defensive before I even said anything. What now? We have an offer on the house. From the neighbor 3 doors down. Above asking price. All cash. Closing in 3 weeks. Her expression went from defensive to surprised. Already? Yes, and it is a solid offer. My lawyer says we should take it. How much above asking price? $10,000 more. No inspection contingencies. That means we keep all the profit and close fast. She sat down slowly. This is really happening. I told you. Now you have a choice. We accept this offer, we divide the proceeds fairly, and we move on. Or you refuse. We go through months of showings and negotiations, and probably end up with less money after all. What do you mean? Share fairly means 50-50, right? I pulled out a folder my lawyer had prepared. Not exactly. This is a breakdown of financial contributions over the last year. Mortgage payments, property taxes, maintenance, utilities, all paid by me. Then there is the down payment, which was 60% my money, 40% yours, plus the home improvements I paid for entirely. She looked at the papers, her face turning pale. My lawyer says that in a divorce, the court considers the financial contribution. You have not worked or contributed financially for over a year. That affects the division. You cannot be serious. I am completely serious. You will get your share, but it will be based on the actual contribution, not just your name on the deed. This is insane. You are trying to take advantage. I am following the law. If you think it is unfair, get your own lawyer and we will let them sort it out. But that takes time and costs money. This offer expires in 48 hours. I tossed the folder on the table. I need to think about it. You have 2 days. After that, Kyle's offer is withdrawn and we go back to the regular sale process, which means more time, more lawyers, more money spent. Your choice. She left the room. I picked up the folder and put it back in order. Everything in it was factual. Bank statements, payment records, receipts. My lawyer had been thorough. That night, I received a message from Kyle. Any decision yet? Still working on it. Should know by Monday. Okay, let me know. Sunday was tense. My wife avoided me most of the day. I could see her spiraling, trying to figure out how to get more out of this situation, but the math was not playing in her favor, and she knew it. Monday morning, she came downstairs while I was making coffee. I agree to the sale, but I want 50-50. No way. The breakdown is fair based on contribution. Then I will get a lawyer. Go ahead. But Kyle's offer expires tonight. If you want to drag this out and spend thousands in legal fees just to end up with less money at the end, that is your decision. She stared at me for a long time, trying to find an angle, trying to see if I was bluffing. I am not bluffing, I said, reading her mind. Take the offer or do not. Either way, this house is going to be sold. She took her phone and left the room. I heard her making calls, probably trying to find a lawyer who would give her a free consultation. Good luck with that. At 5 p.m. that afternoon, she still had not accepted. I sent a message to Kyle. She is dragging her feet. Probably going to let your offer expire. Too bad. I will start looking at other properties tomorrow. At 7 p.m., my wife came back into the kitchen. Okay, I will take it. You take the offer with the financial breakdown my lawyer provided. She looked like she wanted to argue, but she just nodded. Say it clearly. Yes. I agree to sell the house to Kyle for the asking price plus $10,000, and I agree to the division of assets your lawyer outlined. I immediately messaged Kyle. She agreed. Let us move forward. He replied within seconds. Perfect. My lawyer will contact yours tomorrow morning. Let us do this. I looked at her. She stood there looking defeated, probably realizing for the first time that I was not backing down on anything. 3 weeks, I said, and it is over. She went upstairs without answering. I sat on the back deck with a beer watching the sun set over the yard. I would soon be leaving. My phone vibrated. Message from Kyle again. By the way, once this closes, I am planning some renovations. If you are still in the area and need recommendations for contractors, let me know. I smiled. The guy was already planning his future here. Meanwhile, I was planning mine elsewhere, somewhere without the weight of a marriage that had been dead for months. 3 weeks could not come fast enough. With the sale moving forward, I started packing, sorting through closets, drawers. 3 years of accumulated stuff. That is where I found the receipts tucked in the back of her desk drawer, folded in an old planner she thought I would never look at. Dinner receipts from places we had never been together. Upscale downtown restaurants. Dates from the last 6 months. Always on the nights she said she was out with friends. One receipt caught my eye. A full dinner with wine. Total over $200 paid with her credit card, the one tied to our joint account, the one I paid off every month. I kept digging, finding more receipts from different restaurants, same patterns, always 2 people, always expensive, always on nights she claimed to just be out casually. Then, I checked our shared cloud storage, something I had set up years ago for our phones, mainly for photos. It turns out deleted messages go there too if you know where to look. I found conversations with someone named Tyler. Started innocently, just friendly exchanges, but by February, the tone shifted. Inside jokes, late-night messages, comments that crossed boundaries. Nothing that proved anything physical, but enough to make it clear it was not just a friendship. One message from her stood out, sent 3 weeks ago. He is so checked out anyway. I do not think he would even notice if I disappeared. His reply, then why stay? Her response, I am working on it. I sat there staring at my laptop screen, reading months of messages. She was planning her exit while living in the house I paid for, eating food I bought, pretending everything was fine. I did not yell, did not break anything, just took screenshots of everything, saved them to a separate drive, and sent copies to my lawyer. When she came home that evening, I was sitting in the living room with printouts of the receipts spread across the coffee table. What is all this? She asked, putting down her grocery bags. She looked closer, saw what they were, and her face went pale. Where did you get these? Your desk. Interesting reading. $200 at the Lakeside Grill on a Tuesday. You told me you were at Target that night. It is not what you think. It is exactly what I think. You spent our money to take someone else to dinner while telling me you were running errands. It was just friends. Friends? What friends? Because I have 6 months of receipts here, all showing the same pattern. 2 people. Expensive meals. Always when you said you were elsewhere. She tried to grab the papers. I moved them out of reach. I also found the messages. She froze. What messages? The shared cloud storage is a beautiful thing. You deleted them from your phone, but they are still accessible if you know where to look. Every conversation with Tyler, every late-night message, every plan you made behind my back. You snooped through my private messages. They are on a shared cloud account that I pay for. Nothing private about it. But nice deflection really shows where your priorities are. She sat down, trying to figure out her next move. I could see the gears turning, looking for an angle to spin this in her favor. It was not physical, she finally said. Does it matter? Yes, it matters. I never crossed that line with you. I pulled up one of the screenshots on my laptop and turned it toward her. You told him you were working on leaving me. That is not just talking. That is planning to end our marriage while you live here, spend my money, pretend everything is fine. You make it sound worse than it is. How is it not as bad as it sounds? You have been emotionally involved with someone else for months, lying about where you were going, spending money on dinners with him, and planning your exit. Which part of that was me making it sound worse? She had no answer, just sitting there looking trapped. You had options, I said. If you were unhappy, you could have been honest, said you wanted to leave. Instead, you chose to lie, sneak around, and disrespect me while I paid for everything. It just happened. Nothing just happens. You made choices. Every dinner, every message, every lie, they were all choices. She tried guilt next. Maybe if you had paid more attention to me, I would not have needed someone else to talk to. I almost laughed. That is your game, blaming me for your decisions. I am just saying, you were not exactly present. I was working to pay our bills, the mortgage you did not contribute to, the credit cards you maxed out on dinners with Tyler. I was perfectly present. You just did not care because you were already focused on someone else. That is not fair. What is not fair is you trying to rewrite history to make yourself the victim. You formed an inappropriate emotional connection with someone else. You lied constantly. And you spent months planning to leave while pretending we were fine. Do not try to twist this. She looked down, unable to meet my eyes. My lawyer has copies of everything, I said. The receipts, the messages, everything. If you try to fight me on the house or the division of assets, all this becomes part of the record. Are you threatening me? I am being clear about the consequences. You made choices. Those choices have documentation. If you want to make this harder than necessary, this documentation becomes public in court. It is up to you. She stood up, shaking. I do not even know who you are right now. I am the guy who stopped letting you walk all over me. Maybe if you had paid attention to that, we would not be here. She went upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close then lock. Good for me. I had zero interest in talking to her anyway. I spent the rest of the evening organizing everything into a folder. Financial records, screenshots of text messages, receipts, timeline of events. My lawyer had said documentation was key if things got complicated during the divorce. Now I had more than enough. The next day, she avoided me completely. Stayed in the bedroom until I left for work. Came home after I was already in bed. We were roommates at this point. Barely that. Kyle's lawyer contacted mine. The sale process moved forward smoothly. Inspection waived, clear title search. Closing scheduled for 3 weeks as promised. Everything was on track. My wife finally came downstairs Thursday evening while I was sorting more boxes in the garage. I want to explain, she started. There is nothing to explain. I found the proof. I know what happened. We are beyond the point of explanations. Tyler is just a friend. Stop lying. You told him you were working on leaving me. Friends do not say that. It was complicated. No, it was not. You got involved with someone else while you were still married to me. Pretty straightforward. She leaned against the door frame. What happens now? We close on the house in less than 3 weeks. You get your share based on the breakdown my lawyer provided. We file for divorce, and then we go our separate ways. Just like that. Just like that. You made your choices. Now live with them. What if I said I want to try to fix this? I stopped packing and looked directly at her. You do not want to fix anything. You just do not want to deal with the fallout. There is a difference. She did not argue, could not because she knew I was right. Does Tyler know you are about to be on your own? I asked. I am not on my own. I will find something. I hope he has a spare room because after closing, you are no longer my problem. She left the garage without answering. I went back to packing, feeling nothing. No anger, no sadness. Just ready for this chapter to be over. My phone vibrated. Message from my lawyer. All documents filed. Divorce papers ready to be served once the house closes. Just need your confirmation to proceed. I replied, proceed. 3 weeks. That is all that stood between me and complete freedom from this mess. I could wait 3 weeks. The closing happened on a Wednesday morning. Kyle arrived early, professional, and ready. My wife arrived 10 minutes late, looking like she had not slept. We sat across from each other at the title company's conference table. Lawyers on both sides. Escrow officer going over the paperwork. The whole process took less than an hour. When it was over, I walked out with a check for my portion. She got hers, significantly smaller after the financial breakdown was applied. She was going to try to argue one last time, but her lawyer advised her to sign. Good decision on her part. Is that it? She asked while we were in the parking lot. That is it. The house is his now. We are done. Where are you going? No longer your concern. And the divorce papers are filed next week. You will be served at your new address. Whatever it is. She looked like she wanted to say something else. But I got in my car and left. Drove straight to the bank, deposited the check, and called my lawyer. It is done. Proceed with filing the divorce. I will do it. Should be finalized in about 60 days, seeing as there are no custody issues or disputes over assets now. I thanked him and hung up. Drove to the small rental house I had secured 2 weeks prior. 1 bedroom, decent neighborhood, month-to-month lease, nothing fancy. But it was mine. No shared space, no reminders of what I had left behind. That evening, Kyle sent me a message. Thanks for making the process smooth. The house is exactly what I wanted. Glad it worked out for both of us. By the way, I ran into Mrs. Henderson earlier. She asked what happened with you two. I smiled. Mrs. Henderson was the neighborhood gossip. If she was asking, everyone knew by now. What did you tell her? I told her to mind her own business, but I figured you would want to know people are talking. Let them talk. It does not concern me anymore. The people who mattered knew the truth. Everyone else could speculate all they wanted. 2 weeks later, the divorce papers were served. My lawyer called to confirm she received them and had 30 days to respond. If she did not contest anything, we would be legally done by early summer. She tried calling me a few times. I did not answer. There was nothing left to discuss. One afternoon, I ran into Kyle at the hardware store. He was buying painting supplies for the renovations he had mentioned. How is the house? I asked. Just painted the living room, planning to redo the kitchen next month. The place has good bones. I saw your ex the other day, he said. She was driving by slowly, staring at the house. Seemed obsessed. Not surprising. Reality probably hit her hard. She made her choices. Kyle said, you handled this well. A lot of guys would have stayed and been miserable. You did not. We talked for a few more minutes. Then we left, going our separate ways. I finished my shopping and went home. That evening, I received a message request on social media. From her. I stared at it for about 5 seconds, then deleted it without answering. Some doors, once closed, stay closed. Life had settled into a comfortable rhythm. Work was going well. I got a promotion with a decent raise. The rental house became something permanent when the landlord offered to sell it to me at a fair price. I bought it outright with the money from the sale. No mortgage, nothing shared. Just mine. I ran into Kyle a few weeks later at a coffee shop. He was with someone, looked happy. Hey, how is everything? He asked. Good. Really good, actually. Heard you bought the place you were renting. Good move. Felt right. How is the house? Finished the kitchen renovation last month. Turned out great. He paused. Seen your ex recently? Third time I noticed her, she said something. No, just slowed down and looked. Then drove off. I shrugged. No longer my problem. Exactly, Kyle said. You moved on. She is stuck looking back. We talked for a few more minutes before parting ways. I got my coffee and went home. That evening, I cleared out the last box in the garage, just random stuff I had put off dealing with. Found our wedding album at the bottom. I flipped through it once, felt nothing and tossed it in the donation pile. My phone rang. Unknown number, probably her again from another phone. I sent it to voicemail and kept cleaning. The message notification popped up an hour later. I played it. I know you do not want to talk, but I need you to know I am sorry. Tyler did not work out. I realize now what I threw away. Please call me back. I deleted it immediately. Did not even finish listening. She did not want me back because she missed me. She wanted me back because her plan had failed and she was looking for a safety net. That is not love. That is convenience. Saturday morning, I was working on the yard when my neighbor came over, an older guy, retired military. Did not talk much, but always friendly. Heard you went through a divorce, he said. Sorry about that. Do not be. Best decision I ever made. Good answer. My former wife tried to come back twice after our divorce. Both times, I told her the same thing. You made your choice, now live with it. Exactly. You seem to be doing well, though. Better than well. I am free. He nodded, completely understanding. That is the key. Freedom is worth more than trying to fix something that was already broken. We talked a little longer before he went back inside. I finished the yard work, opened a beer, and sat on my back deck. The sun was setting, birds chirping, quiet neighborhood. My house, my space, no drama, no lies, no disrespect. I thought about that neighborhood cookout 6 months ago. How she introduced me as someone she knows. How I could have stayed silent and kept pretending. But I did not. I called her out, made the hard decision, left with my dignity intact, and now I was exactly where I needed to be. My phone vibrated one more time. Another message request from her. I did not even open it. I just blocked the account and finished my beer. Some people think leaving means you lost. They are wrong. Leaving means you know your worth and refuse to settle for less. I lost nothing. I gained everything that mattered. Respect, freedom, peace. And that is how you win. Comment. Hey friends, I wanted to share a few thoughts with you from the heart after hearing this story. I believe protecting your self-respect is one of the most important things you can do for yourself. When someone stops treating you with basic kindness, it is okay to set clear boundaries. Taking responsibility for your own happiness is a powerful form of self-care. Real healing often begins the moment you decide you will not accept less than you deserve. Choosing peace does not mean you are giving up. It means you are choosing yourself. I hope this reminds you to be kind to yourself first. Never be afraid to walk away from situations that steal your peace. Take time to reflect on where you might need to create more calm in your own life. You deserve to feel valued, respected, and truly at peace, always. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.